Hello, Pre-Algebra. Welcome to Lesson 14.3, Direct Proportion, beginning on page 127 and going through 132. First of all, let's look at the definition of direct proportion. Direct proportion occurs when two quantities, x and y, vary in such a way that y over x is a constant. They are said then to be in direct proportion, or y is said to be directly proportional to x. So it's like whatever you plug into the x position, y happens, and it always happens in the same rate, which would be y divided by x. So for example, a formula for direct proportion is y equals kx, where k is the constant. So and here's a further example, y over x would equal 5 over 1, which is the same as 10 over 2, and then you keep on doing equivalent fractions. It can go 30 over 6, and we'll just stop there, because whatever you do this, whenever it happens, like 5 divided by 1 is 5, 10 divided by 2 is 5, 30 divided by 6 is 5, the constant is 5. It is always 5. That means it's constantly 5, so 5 is the constant. So then I can plug 5 into the k position, so y is going to equal 5 times x. So whatever you plug into x, because 5 is the constant, I would multiply it, and that would give me y, and I would have a direct proportion. When you graph the ordered pairs of x and y, the graph of this formula is always a straight line passing through the origin 0. Why does it pass through the origin 0? Well, if x is 0, 5 times 0 is 0. So it's 0, 0 is the point where it starts. Then off it goes. So let's use that information with try it 7. That is on the bottom of page 130. It reads, the following table shows the number of hours, T, worked and the corresponding wages, W dollars, of a worker. So that's T is like the X and the W dollars is like the Y in an ordered pair. So they give the chart, like for every 10 hours, the worker gets paid 150, 20 hours, 300, and so on and so forth, all the way to 50 hours, you get paid $750. The first thing I need to do in letter A is show that T and W are in direct proportion. Okay, so since 1 over W equals 1 over 15 for all pairs, because I would reduce 10 over 150, get rid of the zeros, it's 1/15. As I reduce all those other ordered pairs, 20 over 30, it reduces to 1 over 15, as does 300 over 450, and 40 over 600, and 50 over 750. All of them reduce to 1/15. Since it works for all of those pairs, in the table, T and W are in direct proportion. That proves it. I have to try it out. And when I try it out and learn this is true for all of the pairs, I can say this with integrity. So that means for this reason, they are in direct proportion. And then I throw in a few examples. 10 over 150 is 1/15. 40 over 600 is 1/15, and so on. Okay. Letter B says draw the graph of W against T. So here we go. Looking at the graph, my T time going this way is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So I use every section of 5 for my 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And then I use my every section of 5 going up for hundreds, because that goes 150, 300, 450, and so on. So it goes 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, and so on. I plot my points. So here I have 10 and 150. Now to figure that out, I go between 100 and 200. The third line is the 50 part, so that's how I figure that out. And then I have 2300, 3450, 4600, and 50, and 750. It makes a straight line going through the origin. I put the points along the side that I plotted just to prove the graph. So now I have drawn the graph of W against T. Letter C tells us to find the equation connecting T and W. So again, I start off with my constant, which is 1 over 15. Therefore, 15 is the constant, so W is going to equal 15T. Going back to that formula at the beginning where I had Y equals KX. Well, remember I said T is in the X position and W is in the Y position. And then the constant, of course, is 15. So here is my equation. So I just take what I know and turn it into an equation, W equals 15T. Because if I multiply T by 15, I end up with W. Letter D tells us or asks us if the worker worked 35 hours, what are his wages? Find his wages. So he works 35 hours. That means that's the time, 35. Time in the equation is W is going to equal 15, the constant, times the time. 15 times 35 is 525. So he earns $525. Then letter E. If the wages of a worker were 675, find the number of hours he worked. Well, in that same formula, now I plug in the 675 in the wage part. So 675 is the constant 15 times the time, which I am going after. I divide each side by 15 to find my time. T is 45, so the answer to that question is 45 hours. Continuing on with try it 8. That will be on the next page, top of the next page, 132. It reads, the number of pieces N of chocolate and their total mass M, capital M, grams, are in direct proportion. So we know that is a fact. The mass of 15 pieces of chocolate is 180 grams. Find the mass in grams of 20 pieces of chocolate. Okay, so I know N is in direct proportion to M. So little n1, capital M1 is the same as little n2, capital M2, because direct proportion means any numbers that I put in here are going to be equivalent fractions. They give me one set of numbers. N1 is 15, M1 is 180. Okay, then they give me just the number of pieces of chocolate for the second one that they want us to find, which is 20. So I set up what I know. So the first scenario is 15 over 180 is going to be the same as 20 over the second M2. Well, you can cross multiply. So 15 times the second M is going to equal 180 times 20. So 15 times the second M is going to equal 3,600, and I find out what M is by dividing both sides by 15 to get it down to that second M. When I do that, I find out that the second M is equal to 240. Therefore, those 20 pieces of chocolate weigh 240 grams. Okay, next, try it at the bottom, try it 9. Reads, the mass of a square piece of glass panel is directly proportional to the square of the length of its side. When its side is 20 centimeters, the mass is 1,000 grams. Find the mass in grams of a glass panel of side 30 centimeters. Okay, so let the mass of a glass panel of side x centimeters be y grams. Then I would have y is going to be the constant times the side squared, because the area is two sides of a square, length times width, which is in a square the same side, so it's x squared. So it says when x is 20, y is 1,000. So now what I'm doing is I'm trying to find out what my constant is. And they give me, well, when x is 20, y is 1,000. So I just plug it in. 1,000 is the same as the constant times 20 squared. Well, 20 squared is 400, so 1,000 is the same as 400k, because k times 400 is 400k. I divide each side by 400. Therefore, k, because this goes away, and I'm just going to put the k here, is going to be equal to 2.5. I did that on my calculator. Now I have a constant, but that's not what they asked. I had to find the constant to answer the question or the statement, find the mass in grams of a glass panel of side 30 centimeters. In order to do that, in order to find that mass, I needed the constant. So I had to do some work first to get that constant, and I used what I had to get the constant. Now I have it, and they gave me the side, so 2.5 times 30 squared. 30 squared is 900, 2.5 times 900, or 900, yep, is going to be 2,250. So 2,250 grams is my answer. You can just kind of plug this in. So 2.5 times 30 uppity 2, and that is your answer. So sometimes when you don't have the constant, you have to understand, oh, I need that constant. This is how I find it. Once I have it, then I can plug it into the formula of y equals my constant times my other number. In this case, the other number happens to be squared because I'm talking area. It's not always squared, but in this problem it is because I'm talking area. So you've got to keep all of what you have learned plus this formula straight and clear in your minds in order to answer the question. Okay, I will give you your assignment in class. Rewatch the video as often as you need. Ask questions, please, if you do not understand. It's important that you understand. If you don't get the same answer as the back of the book, please check to make sure you're getting the same answer as the back of the book. And if you can't figure out how they did it according to the steps given in the lesson, you need to ask. Don't just fiddle numbers. It doesn't work. And then the checkpoints sometimes don't go so well. Don't put yourself in that position. Okay, thank you, and do good math. Work responsibly.